Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is integrity. What does it mean to be living in integrity or to be in or out of integrity? And I think we can look at how integrity is alignment and what it means to be able to live from that place of alignment with our values, with our essence. So, before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together, vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling as you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Good morning, and welcome. Welcome, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Today, we're talking about integrity and what does it look like to be, what is integrity? And if we think of the word integrate or integrated, I think that gives us a good insight into the root of the word integrity. When we say that someone has no integrity, I think what we're saying is that they don't act with a maybe with an established code of values that might be external, but also within an internal set of values. Like to say someone has no integrity is to be calling out that there's a lack of values. And it's interesting that we in so many ways have a high value placed on values in our culture, and yet we don't really spend time necessarily exploring what those values truly are. I was talking with somebody yesterday about an organization that it's a nonprofit organization, and there's a lot of internal friction. And one of their mandates, from what I could gather, was to be unifying a variety of different groups. And yet within the organization, there's this challenge of unification. So in some sense, there's this lack of integrity, this lack of integration that is present in the organization that by necessity is going to reflect outwardly. So when we are in conflict with ourselves, when we are out of alignment, we can talk about integrity as alignment as well as integration. when we are out of alignment with ourselves, it reflects in everything we do in the world. It reflects in our ability to move in a productive way toward our dreams. It's kind of like, we all know the saying, one step forward, two steps back. It's kind of working at cross purposes with ourselves when we aren't maintaining our integrity. And I think that integrity is something that we get to assess internally, that we get to say, is this in alignment? Is this behavior, is this action in alignment with my values, with my essence, with my heart and soul? Is this action or communication or interaction, whatever, is this in alignment? Is this within integrity? And why does it matter? Well, I think that when we're able, at least my experience is that when I'm able to act in alignment with my essence, not somebody else's imposed rules so much as in alignment with my values. It's kind of like allowing yourself to be guided by your own North Star. And it's interesting because I keep wanting to say our sense of self. And yet we have had so many conversations about what is this self? This self is not a fixed entity. It's more of a fluid evolution. And yet there are constants in the underlying current of how we express within the context of this life, that each of us has our own unique contribution, sort of our own unique chord or note that we are in our expression. And yet that underlying tone is expressed in a multitude of ways in life, through instances, incidents, interactions. And so it's at times when we are out of integrity that we then end up feeling things like regret and shame, because we're not in alignment with our essence. And one of the things that I think can make such a difference in our experience of life is a sense of purpose. And I remember years and years of my life feeling quite rudderless and meaningless. Life felt meaningless. And it may be that ultimately it's life is empty and meaningless, and what we do is we provide the meaning and we provide the substance. But when we give that gift to ourselves, that gift of meaning, personal meaning, then that can help to cultivate this North Star. I think the oh, it's so opening so many cans of worms talking about this, because when we talk about meaning and purpose, we can become so identified with that meaning and purpose that we lose our ability to, well, that it can cloud our ability to check in with ourselves more deeply, to keep reassessing and reevaluating, I guess, and to look at levels of meaning and purpose. I think that that's actually a potential pitfall, something to be looking out for when we identify purpose and meaning as a to-do rather than something essential. Because when we have a sense of meaning and purpose, there ought to be, in my perception of what meaning and purpose is, there are a multitude of expressions of that meaning or purpose. So let's say our purpose is to elevate consciousness. Well, there are a multitude of ways to do that and to express that commitment. And also, there are a multitude of ways to understand what that might even mean. And that's where integrity comes in, I guess, if we're talking about meaning and purpose, because I can be crusading for my purpose or my cause, and yet I can be out of alignment with my other values in the way that I do that. So integrity is, I guess, maybe closely related to a personal code of conduct. And many of these codes, interestingly, are codes that are taught to us. Like if we look at the Ten Commandments, and I'm not a religious person, and I don't even think I could recite the Ten Commandments actually, but they are a code of conduct. And we have certain codes that we're raised with, certain practices, certain cultural norms that help to keep life, maybe keep life going in a lot of ways. Good morning, April. My gosh, it's been forever. How wonderful to have you joining us. We're talking about integrity and codes of conduct and meaning and purpose, and integrity being something that has to do with internal alignment and integration of values and intentions and goals and missions. And I think that if we experience a sense of embarrassment or shame when something has occurred, where we've done something that then we respond to with embarrassment or shame, it's an indicator that we've breached our integrity, that we're out of integrity in some way, that if we I'm just thinking of some instances like where maybe we trip or fall and then feel embarrassed that other people saw that. Maybe that's not a case of being out of integrity. I'm talking more about the embarrassment that comes when we've done something that is out of alignment. Personal integrity, I think, is very much tied to our self-worth. When we maintain integrity, I think it's being consistent with our deepest heartfelt values, our deepest sense of right and wrong. And while so much of that can be conditioned, I think that there's an innate sense of right and wrong that reflects our own values, that exposes our own values when we might not even be aware of them, when we might not even be conscious of them. And so it gets into this hairy question of identity, because there are currents that are consistent within us. And I say currents because we, as an identity, express over time as a fluid and changing and evolving expression of life. And yet there are some things that remain consistent, characteristics that remain consistent of who we know ourselves to be. And when we're out of integrity, what is occurring is that we're out of alignment with our sense of ourselves. So what does that do? That then can spur us to reevaluate, who am I? Or it can spur us to become more consciously aware of those foundational or essential values and is well of our foundational structures. I don't know if you have ever had an experience where something has happened that makes you question yourself, like, who am I? What, how could I do that? How could I respond that way? I venture to guess that we've all had a moment like that. And those moments are invitations, I think, to look more deeply, like with curiosity rather than judgment, about, wow, what was happening? What triggered that kind of behavior? What is going on behind the scenes that would provoke me to act in a way that was so inconsistent with the values that I believe I hold? And that brings up another notion that really all of our experience, all of our reactions, all of our emotions, all of our responses can serve as jumping off points for deeper understanding, for deeper insight, deeper awareness into who we are, and also how we are interacting with life, can act as jumping off points for growth. So cultivating a curiosity, compassionate curiosity, rather than judgment and reactivity, can bring us into deeper alignment, deeper integrity, deeper understanding of our essence. Again, not as a fixed entity, but as kind of an emerging, evolving expression. I guess we're all over the place this morning, but I invite you to just do an exploration around integrity and what's the difference of when you're in integrity and when you're not, and how does that feel? Because we know when we're out of integrity, we know that we're out of alignment. We get a visceral experience of it. And that's a clue to say, oh, there's some violation here. There's some way that I've violated some sense of myself that I may or may not have been aware of. So it gives us, it's a tool to recognize something deeper about ourselves, to say, oh, okay, so I feel like I violated that thing that is so much a part of me. How cool to notice that thing and to take this opportunity now to be able to recalibrate to it. So it's an interesting inquiry. And these inquiries take some courage because we don't like to look bad. And sometimes we do things or say things that make that are out of integrity. And when we look, we can see, oh, we didn't look so good there. And that didn't feel so good. But we can use all those opportunities to learn and to grow and to move forward and evolve into greater alignment with whatever that essential current is that expresses ourselves. So that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to like, follow, and share Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the description. And as always, it is a pleasure and a privilege that I so enjoy to connect with you and share these musings on what it is to be human. So until next time.